David Harnish.
David Harnish.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're ready?
Because I don't know how long we'll have a forum, so I might have to
Okay.
adjust on the fly.
I don't hear anything, feedback or anything, so I think we're either good or no one can hear us. But no one's saying anything either. So, welcome everybody. Today is July 11th, 2023, and today is the first meeting of 5 select board members for the town of Wenham. And we are starting right at 6:30 with an attendance. I am here, Diane Bucco.
Peter Clay.
Ben Timon.
Deirdre Peretti.
Gary Cheeseman.
Perfect, we're all here. We usually start off our meetings with any public input, so we'll see if anyone is in the audience or online that would like to speak up.
There are no hands raised.
No hands raised.
Shall I address the question that I emailed to you about the pedestrian crossing by
You certainly can.
standing, or do you want to read it?
So, you know what, why don't you bring it to public input right now, Jeff? Thank you.
Jeff Calder, 16 Burnham Road. I ask that the Select Board consider petitioning the state to add on-demand pedestrian crossing at the end of Burnham Road where it meets Route 97, similar to what is on Arbor Street near Edel, I believe it is, and at the opposite end of 97 near the rail trail. Quite a few people live on Lord's Hill, walk from there to Wenham Lake, and there are people that walk from the other neighborhoods around Lord's Hill. And at times it can be pretty difficult to cross or get the attention of the cars to cross 97. And I think that's even probably more so now that it's been repaved.
I'd agree with that. I think we should put that on a future agenda to discuss bringing that to the state, what we would need to do, and if we want to do that. Thank you very much. I think that's a great idea.
That would be police and Rich. Could they do it?
I think, but it's a state highway, so I think
Right.
we'd have to go through the state and wait to see what happens there. So I think we need to do some research. Yes? Okay.
Yeah, it was actually police that suggested the petitioning of the state
Of the
because
state.
of the state highway.
Yeah.
It is very dangerous there.
Both ends?
What's that?
Both ends?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Both ends,
So the one down by the rail trail?
the rail trail, but that has one. So just the Burnham Road area.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We were going to have a department update from Kate Mallory, but we are going to switch that with Janet Sacco, who we're going to get right now. But while we wait, we'll just go upwards a little bit. Does any select board member have anything that they'd like to bring to the table? We'll start with Deirdre.
Sure. I'll just mention two things. One is that there is an open seat on the Finance and Advisory Committee, the one that I just vacated post-election. And so I just wanted to say it's a great experience being on FinCom. It's a great group. I learned a tremendous amount, and it's wonderful service to the town, as well as a great learning opportunity. So I just want to encourage people to think about it and consider applying.
Great
And
idea.
the other one is the planning board. At the planning board on Thursday night, there will be a presentation about the master plan. Our wonderful consultant, J.M. Goldson, will be presenting the vision and goals, so I wanted to encourage everyone to try to tune in or come to Town Hall to hear the presentation. I think it will be great.
Thursday, July 13th. What time is that?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Awesome. Thank you. Ben, you have anything to report today?
I don't.
You don't. Pete?
Good.
Gary?
I'll just mention that this weekend is the family-friendly Military Service Day, as in past years at the Patton Estate. And it's a family movie at 8 p.m. on Friday evening, along with reenactors camping out on Friday. And then all day Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., reenactor displays, military equipment, helicopters flying in, a series of distinguished speakers, as well as a good time to just bring your families out and see that. So encourage everybody. I think Peter Quinn said that they had 4,000 last year, so a free event, great for the kids.
People come and go
Yeah.
all day. There's
Yeah.
food trucks, music. It's a great day. Thank you, Gary, for bringing that up. All right, we'll jump over to our department update from Ms. Janet Sacco.
Hi, I'm Janet Sacco. I am the Assistant Treasurer Collector, and I do payroll and benefits for the town. I've been here a little over 3 years, and I'm going to talk to you about the split payroll that we literally, momentarily, just finished. So it happens once a year, and the split payroll is joining the payroll from the last fiscal year and the upcoming fiscal year together. It's a little bit of a task, as what we just did is it's split. It took the last of fiscal '23, joining it with the first of fiscal '24. So for this year, the last of fiscal '23 took June 25th to June 30th and joined it with July 1st through the 8th. And that encompasses the 2 weeks that normally a payroll is a 2-week period, as we get paid biweekly in Wenham. So it joins those 2 weeks together. Sounds pretty simple, but that's 2 different pay rates for all most of our employees. So you have to do it in 2 different steps. So we do basically the payroll twice. We do it first at the old rate for our FY23 pay rate, and go through that, and then go in again and redo the payroll all over again, doing all the same steps using the new pay rate of the FY24 rate. So it gets cumbersome, because if you finish the 23, you get everything matched. We go down to the penny. If there's a penny missing, we have to find the penny. I go home and tell my kids, oh, there's a penny missing. They're like, who cares? It's a penny, No, we find the penny. So
Jamie said find it.
Yeah, Jamie says find it, and I have to answer to Jamie. So it does get a bit cumbersome, but so we literally just finished. Belinda and I went through the whole thing and finished it. And so the thing is, before the second half, which is the FY24 half begins, there's a lot that goes into it. All the department heads have to bring to us a PAF, a personal action form, for each employee, which has their date of hire and all their information on it, and which includes their FY23 rate that they were paid, and then their FY24 rate that they're going to be paid for the next fiscal year. So and those rates come from the budget, which was approved through the spring town meeting. So what we do in the finance office is go through and make sure all the math calculations are correct, that everything looks okay. So we go through those again after they're turned in to make sure they're okay to be put on that payroll. So once, that's kind of a lot to do to get ready for the payroll. So we then have to change those rates that we've already put in for the 23 year and have already done the 23 payroll. Then we have to change them in Hoppers, which is our payroll software that we use in Wenham. So we change the rate for every individual in the software system, so we can again go in and do the FY24 payroll. So that's kind of the gist of what we do. It also kind of comes off the heels of open enrollment, which I do with benefits. So there's a lot of changing also with those rates, because open enrollment takes place in May, and for going into June, for July 1st, start the new rates with health insurance and dental and all of those things. So it's kind of a lot of moving parts at this time of the year, and there's a lot of balls in the air to try to juggle, and we try to do a good job, but sometimes the ball drops here and there. But overall, we have a good team in our office, so we work great together. So, minus someone that might be leaving us. So, anyone have any questions?
Anyone have any questions? I was going to ask about the benefits and stuff, because that also has to be calculated for that second half and changed, all that stuff.
Right,
To be-
exactly.
Yeah.
So we had an increase in health insurance this year.
Still has to be in by a certain date, so everyone gets paid on the
Exactly,
proper-
and it's effective for July 1st, so it's all in this time frame. So there's a lot changing at this time frame, but we, like I said, just finished and everything tied out to the penny, so,
To the penny.
yeah, so we're all good, so.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming in, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care, have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Jim.
So I see Dano's here, and Jeff's here. Who's the third one coming?
Harnish, right?
David Harnish?
David Harness, he's not here yet, though.
Scott is,
No, Scott's not coming.
he's
Right.
not coming.
I don't think so, so we still have to wait for the
Yeah, so I
third
guess
person.
we'll just continue.
All right. Dano will have to wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we were expecting 7 at the start, so
Okay, yes, but
hopefully he'll be joining us at 7.
we're just going to go back and forth on the agenda. Select board members, we went through everybody. Chair's report, I get to go before you, because I'm going backwards. So I just wanted to congratulate the 2 new select board members, thank
Thank
them
you.
for running, thank Patrick Waddell for running as well, thank the election officers, our new town clerk ran a very smooth election, it was really well done, and of course, all the voters who came in, I think it was 500 something, is that right?
Yes.
So like a 17%?
10 or something like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty good, pretty good. Just wanted everyone to know, I don't think I mentioned it before, there was an open meeting law training for just staff recently by KP Law that was very well received, at least a good 3 hours of information that went through. And then tomorrow, the 12th, there's the first annual full committee board training tomorrow morning at the, not the
Library.
museum, the library, thank you. Starting at 9, we have Representative Sally Karen's going to kick it off, and then we have the Inspector General. We have snacks and such. It should be really good, and we have a good group, at least 30 people coming. So I thought that was a pretty good one. And if anyone, hopefully at least one from each committee, and they can share with their colleagues, but we'll see how that goes. It's tough whether you do it in the morning, or whether you do it in the evening, or whether you do it in the winter, or the summer. There's never a perfect time, so I thought we should just start it. And so we will, as a board, have to decide now when we're going to set a date for our goal setting. We waited to set a date until we had everybody on board, so we can talk about that later. And a new outreach plan to the constituency residents. I think that's all I had on, yeah. I was going to talk about the MPAC, but you did that on Thursday. So that was all of my report. TA Steve, you're up.
All right, so for my updates, so just a heads up that the library HVAC is offline, is running, manually being controlled currently when the town of Hamilton upgraded to Windows 11. An unforeseen issue popped up when Johnson Controls. Their module cannot operate. They're not Windows 11 compliant yet. So we are currently working with them to figure out an interim solution, whether it be the two solutions we're looking at right now is just essentially utilizing a beefed up desktop to act as a server to run their controls so that we can remote in and monitor it remotely, or move it and have the town of Danvers host on a virtual networked server that they can set up with us. So we're going to see which one, as far as cost-wise, makes the most sense, because hopefully it's just going to be put in place for a year or so till they get to Windows 11. Some are aware, but I'll just go through it with we're losing our finance director, Jamie, at the end of the month. And we also have a recent vacancy of the police executive secretary. So, looking ahead, we've contracted with an auditing firm to put some temporary staffing in place. We're hoping for 1 to 2 days a week where this individual will help with the police currently rely heavily on the finance director for assistance with their payroll and accounts payable. That assistance won't be there anymore. So to assist at that transition, Jamie has also agreed to come back periodically to assist in training. And, we're also working to rewrite the job description for the public safety executive assistant for the police, and to better fit the needs of the department. The job description was, a couple decades old, really didn't cover what the position had currently evolved into, and with that, we're hoping to negotiate with the DPW union to remove that position from the union due to the exposure to confidential material and negotiating information. The town hall, so if we back up part of ARPA, we got $500,000 to upgrade the town hall HVAC. That's earmarked for the ARPA funds. So we had an internal air quality study done by the state to come in and look at our air quality. We had, clear humidity and moisture issues where these air handlers are being forced to, they're not designed to, but they're essentially acting as dehumidifiers, as the high humidity with no outside venting is getting trapped in the halls and being pulled in, and then they're dehumidifying and the condensation is running down the inside walls of the building and flowing into the basement. So, and then we got a grant after that. We got a grant to for an electrification feasibility study. So, as far as our green initiatives, we just recently signed a contract with B2Q that will come in and conduct a feasibility study for about $15,000. The cost will be covered by the grant, and they'll make any proposals on whether, it's feasible to electrify our HVAC, any cost savings, reduction of carbon footprint, things of that nature. So then just to recap, I'm sure most are aware, but there was a small error on the tax bill that went out, most received last week. In the remittance copy, there was essentially a static mailing address that went out on every, in the return mailing section on your remittance copy. It went out with every bill that has, it turned out to be a vendor processing routine error, and it has been corrected and a new bill has been sent out. So if you have any questions, that none of the tax amounts, the owners, the assessments were all accurate. You can pay off either bill. Both have 2 or 3 unique identifiers on them that are used to process the payments. They'll be applied to appropriate parcel, no impact on that. We also recently lost our recording secretary, at least to the extent that covers the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and the CPC. So we are testing, this will be the first meeting we'll be using. It's called Minute Solutions. They're out of Toronto, Canada. They're essentially, they're national. They're in Canada, they're in the United States. They have a lot of experience taking corporate minutes, nonprofit minutes. They do minutes for some communities in Massachusetts. Communities have used them to take, essentially bulk recordings of their meetings and, given to them, and they've, come out with transcriptions of all the meetings. I reviewed their product. It appears to be very good. So, we'll see how that works. Looking into next week, we have a National Grid public hearing. This is a requirement for them to pursue a public hearing and request for comments. So I'll just read what the purpose of this is. The company proposes to modify its 3-year plan to add refrigerant management demonstration project for the commercial and industrial sector, which we don't have very much of. The company proposes to identify specific ways in which energy efficient programs can be leveraged to reduce both energy use and greenhouse gas emissions from refrigerant leaks, particularly in grocery stores. They want to highlight that any customers will not experience any additional bill impacts related to this midterm contract modification. The hearing will be held on July 20th at 2 p.m. It's already on the town calendar with the Zoom link, and obviously if there's any questions or follow-up that you need, just let me know on that. And then the last thing is all boards and committee meeting tomorrow. So that's going to be hosted by the Inspector General. There should be coffee and donuts and healthy snacks as well there. Located, it'll be at the Hamilton Wenham Public Library in their meeting room. It's expected to go from 9 to about noontime, 1 o'clock-ish, and it should be really good. So we have about 33 people that are confirmed coming, so it'll be a good turnout. Should be a good meeting. And that is all I have for you tonight.
Thank you. Any questions? Nope. Okay. Let's jump down to E, some appointments. Looks like we need the chief to speak tonight.
Good evening. Guess we'll do the appointment of Ronnie Scott Owens first. It is with pleasure that I forward the recommendation for the position of full-time firefighter within the Wenham Fire Department. Upon completion of a recent interview process with my senior staff, Deputy Chief Baxter, Deputy Chief Sullivan, and I, the interview committee has selected firefighter Ronnie Scott Owens for the position of full-time firefighter. Firefighter Owens has demonstrated many qualities that will benefit the town of Wenham in his new role as a full-time firefighter. Firefighter Owens has been a firefighter for the town for 1 year and is a certified Massachusetts emergency medical technician. Firefighter Owens has also received certification for Firefighter 1-2 from the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy, and I recommend his appointment effective August 1st, 2023, pending successful completion of a firefighter physical and Cory check.
How long has Ronnie been here?
He is right here if you would like him to speak.
Ronnie, come on up. How many years have you served in Wenham?
I've been in Wenham for a year. Previous to that, I was in the town of Marion for 4 years. I've had an EMT certificate since 2015, and I served 3.5 years in the military.
Thank you for your service. Anybody have any questions? Anything else you want to tell us? I think we can move to a motion.
I move that we accept the appointments.
Just this one.
I didn't ever get this version.
I don't know.
Move to appoint Ronnie Scott Owens as a full-time firefighter for a term beginning August 1st, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024.
Second?
Any discussion? We shall vote. Gary?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Diane says yes. It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep going?
Not yet. I think, are you going to speak on the other ones too?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to request the Select Board appoint 4 interns to provisional call firefighter status for the Wenham Fire Department pending successful completion of a firefighter physical and Cory check. The interns are Sean K. Carr, who is from Wenham, Brennan E. Lucado, who is from Danvers and is a certified EMT, Jessa Hattenbaugh, who is from Hamilton and is a certified EMT, and Brett Donovan, who is from Danvers. The 4 interns just completed a 3-month in-house training and are now ready for appointment. And they'll be attending the academy in October, which will last till March 1st.
Let's have a
Great.
motion.
Yeah. I move to appoint Sean K. Carr, Brennan E. Lucado, Jessa R. Hattenbaugh, Brett T. Donovan as provisional call fighters pending successful completion of a fire physical and Cory check for a term beginning July 11th, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024.
Second?
Discussion? Question? So when you're an intern, do you get paid?
You do not.
And so becoming a,
And it'll still be another probably 3-4 weeks until we get the paperwork done through finance and everything, and the
to become.
completion of the physical and Cory check. Then they'll be put on the
That's quite
books.
dedication to go through the insurance.
Oh, yes, yeah,
program. Great.
yeah.
Ready to vote? Gary?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Pete?
Yep.
Diane says yes, it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Chief.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming by.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay. FinCom, not yet? Okay. We had some correspondence from Xfinity, Comcast, which is just really telling us that that channels are being changed.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's
That's-
just notifying us of
So people.
channel changes.
I think you get that in your bill too, when you look at if you have Comcast.
We could post it on the news too, on the website,
We
just,
can, it's such a beautiful letter, yeah, okay, we'll post it.
yeah, to the extent.
I'm gonna wait a little bit as well. So we're gonna get to B. Let's welcome the new select board members, welcome. Deirdre T. Parati and Benjamin, no middle name, Timon?
I do have a middle name.
You do?
But
Are you registered with your middle name?
I believe so.
Yeah, we should probably have your middle name in there, just so we know.
B is in Bravo is the middle initial.
Benjamin Bravo, Timon?
No,
Benjamin B. Timon.
Benjamin B, yes.
So we thought we would, you're both sworn in,
Yes.
and you've done the open meeting law, you know the open meeting law and the ethics training, et cetera, perfect.
Talked about payroll.
Yes, yeah, I've met with...
Did you guys get the
Janet.
select board orientation document?
Yes.
It's in the it's in the
Yep.
thing as well, but you all got that?
Yep.
Awesome. So I thought that we could just do a quick discussion on the role of the select board. And so what I did to get started is I pulled from the MMA, which is the Mass Municipal Association. They have certain memberships, and one is select board. And just their little blurb of what is the position of the select board is. It says the position of the select board member is steeped in nearly 400 years tradition. Though they earn only a small stipend, if anything, for their work on behalf of their hometowns, select board members have played significant roles over the years in shaping the future of their communities. They are looked to by the citizens and local government employees alike for leadership, integrity, particularly in difficult times. Local government has changed dramatically since colonial times, but select board members continue to be seen as the leaders of an increasingly complex enterprise. The select board concept was not imported from England, but evolved here. Got a little history. Jumping on your bandwagon, Gary. Early in the history of the Commonwealth, town meetings would periodically select prominent citizens to perform the business of the town between town meetings. 1633, Dorchester was the first New England town to organize a local government. They did choose just 12 men as their selectmen. Other Massachusetts towns quickly adopted this unique form of government. Colonial laws in Massachusetts gave select boards significant authority over town finances, care of the poor, schools, admission of new residents into town, roads and other public works, land regulation, local defense, and the appointment of other town officials not elected by the town meeting. In colonial times, most executive business of the towns was conducted by the select board. As Massachusetts grew and the activities of towns became increasingly sophisticated, select boards were assigned greater responsibilities and authority, while new independent elected officers and boards were entrusted with their specialized functions. The select board operates as a collective decision-making body. The legal authority of the select board is limited to the actions taken by the board at a legally called, posted meeting with the majority of the board present. If a board member wants to accomplish specific objectives, he or she must find a way to work with the other members of the board and with the other boards in town. While the select board members are the principal administrative officers of the town, other boards, including school committee, planning board, and board of health, may wield at least as much authority over certain aspects of town government. Generally, select boards have at least several important responsibilities under state law: the power to prepare the town meeting warrant, the power to make appointments to town boards and offices, the power to employ professional administrative staff and town council, the power to sign warrants for the payment of all town bills, and the authority to grant licenses and permits. So after the history lesson, I think basically we just make policy. We don't run the day-to-day stuff, right? We're all equal, whether you just got elected or have been here for many years, and we work as a unit, just based on whatever decisions we decide. The TA only follows direction from the actions of the select board that we take at meetings. And then we're all responsible to engage with the public and share with the TA and the other select board members their concerns and requests. That's what I see as our role. So I wanted to throw that out there and see if anyone had any other things to add.
Well, we've been working on the responsibilities document, so I think we were 99% of the way there. So perhaps at the next meeting, we can formalize that.
The document?
Yeah.
Yep, if there's other things that, that come up. I think most of that was in there. because nothing that I read from the MMA was different than what we kind of had put through. Maybe what we put through is a little bit more specific. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you for pulling that together and reading it. The history is definitely
History was kind of fun.
illuminating.
Impressive
And,
under it.
yeah, and also thank you to all of you who put the time into putting together the orientation document, which was comprehensive. And I read it, and it goes into a lot of detail and was helpful for somebody new like myself coming into the town government.
And so if and when you find something wrong or missing or anything, this would, it's a working document, it can always be adjusted. So we should just try to remember that if we happen to go, oh gosh, we should add something. It would be a good idea.
The only other thing I'd add is that beyond like the very town-specific stuff, this whole North Shore, Bruce Tarr's operation.
The water.
Yeah, issue is just attending those, so I go to that regularly.
I think that's a great, I'm just sort of Wenham specific in my mind, but I think you're right. We need to be more regionalized. We need to know what's going on, especially with climate, water, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's very true. That's awesome. Not yet. I found resources that were good for me was the MMA. They do quick little webinars, like once a month. Are they like once a month?
Yeah, maybe even more, depending on the
Okay.
time of year.
So
They post them pretty frequently.
will they get their emails? How do
You
they
have to
get their?
sign up.
Yeah.
You have to sign
I
up.
signed up for it. And there's a training next week, actually, but we're having ours this week, so.
Right, so then next week is open meeting law?
It looked like the same, yeah.
Yeah, and they had it, the timing, I'm sorry. Go
No, I was
ahead.
gonna say it's KP, right? It's.
Yes. Yeah, Lauren.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the timing, they had a new select board member, training
Oh.
at the end of last month. So it was like the timing is, it's about 3 days to
Right,
3 days off.
because that's usually all, elections are usually done by then. We had this
Right.
one-off election,
Yes,
but
right.
they do that once a year.
Yeah, no, they're pretty good because they've been going over, particularly with the pandemic, they've been really successful and highly attended. So they've been adding more and more. So it's been good.
Yeah, affordable housing.
Yeah, all sorts of topics.
Yeah, so I find that, they're usually 12 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You sign up and you go when you can.
And they're not just elected. I'm there, Jamie's there, Michelle,
Yeah.
Joe, if we see one that's interesting, it's everybody's.
And they have the annual conference, which is spring? January?
Yeah, so I just went to their annual.
Yeah, you
Well, yeah, they have a couple conferences, I guess. There's like 3 conferences.
Oh, there's 3?
Yeah.
I thought January was a big one, right?
Yeah, they have the one in town.
Okay.
Then they have the one at the Cape, and then they have the one that is up in Gloucester.
There's one in Gloucester?
Yeah, at the Beauport. And usually they're 1 or 2 days. They're not like a whole week event,
Mhm.
like some of them.
That's something to look into for sure. Okay. I'm just looking and you're you and Dano's in an airport somewhere. Yes.
One portion, there's 2 sets, one set FinCom already approved, so I can start with that to get time for me to do that.
Okay. All right, so let's, how can we
Our
open?
interim chair reached out to each of us, so presumably he was able to reach David, but I don't know that for certain.
Right. So we can't open the FinCom meeting yet.
We're 2 out of 5.
Yeah, we can't.
So you're just going to
2 out of
present to
4
us,
present,
Jamie? Yeah.
but we're a 5-person
Yeah, so
committee,
we're
of course.
missing.
Yeah, we're 1 short of a quorum.
Is Jim not count anymore?
No.
No.
Not after
After July
June
1st.
30th.
Okay.
Yeah, he was term limited, 6 years.
So Jamie, so you're presenting to the board, the select board?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll start with that and we'll just keep our fingers crossed on David.
Okay. So these are the reserve, a portion of the reserve fund transfers that was already presented to the Finance Committee and they approved. At the end of the year, we have appropriation transfers or reserve fund transfers. I apologize, these are reserve fund year-end appropriation transfers. And that just means it's at the end of the year, there's some departments that slightly overspent, there's some departments that underspent, whether that's because of turnover or increase in cost, or decrease in cost, which rarely happens, but. And so instead of asking for money for FinCom, at the end of the year, we'll just go through the departments, and if the department heads will say, I overspent my electricity this month or on office supplies or training. I'll see what department didn't have that, and we'll take money from that appropriation and vote to bring it to the other department. The first one that we have here is library. So the library utilities came in a little higher. So what I did was there was extra money in, and I do this in conjunction with department heads, there was extra money in their library support staff. It usually supports her part-time people. There's been a lot of turnover in that area at the library. So I took $12,825.33 and split that in between $9,000 for libraries, heat and utilities, $3,000 for library building and grounds, and $825.33 for children's librarian. For our library, we also took $4,455.25 from the admin librarian salary and put $323.13 for the library director salary, $826.07 for the head of circulation salary, and $3,306.05 for the assistant library director salary. We took $4,571.36 from circulation librarian, and we put $4,571.36 into the head of tech services. And then on the Board of Health contract services, we took $1,500 and put it under the BOH salaries. And then for our group insurance, we budgeted at 8% because when we got into the budget season, that's what our the holder of our Maya told us to carry that. At first they start with the 10, and then they're like, okay, you can go with an 8%. So by the time the budget was cut, sealed, and closed, it was 8%. The health insurance for 23 came in, I think it was at a 6 or slightly under 6% increase, so we had capacity there. And so we used that to pay for $55,000 worth of unemployment expenses, which were from various unemployment expenses throughout the town. As you can tell, I don't like to round, so everything is to the penny. Clearly, I have a problem with pennies, so that's why everything is the way it is. But does anybody have any questions?
So it was just excess money on the left that went to cover deficits on the right.
Yeah. All right. Steve just pointed out one of the problems in library. They've had a problem with HVAC and all that fun stuff. She's had a lot of vendors. I think she even had an issue with her elevator. So that's what where those salaries are there.
Looks good, down to the penny. That's awesome. So we have to vote to approve that?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if it's on there. That one we don't have.
So I move that we accept the year-end appropriation transfers as presented.
Second?
Discussion? Let's vote. Gary?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Pete?
Yep.
Diane says yes as well.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay.
So I just wanted I have another set, but this one has to be approved by both FinCom and the Select Board.
Right.
So I don't know. Do you want me to
Do we
keep?
You
have
have the
contact?
select board, can we have select board action and have the FinCom meet at a later date?
That's fine with me. That's fine with the board.
Because do we still have Dano on?
We still have Dano, but we're
And
missing.
we haven't heard from David or anything, right?
Can you give me 1 second? I just want to check the date because it has to be done by the 17th of July.
Right.
So I'd have to post a meeting for FinCom for even an hour on the 17th or Friday.
So let's ask Jeff and Dano if they could do 14th or 17th. Is that what you're saying?
We can
Yeah.
even do it in the morning, right?
Yeah, even if we do it in the morning.
I can attend either of those.
Okay.
Either one?
Either, yes.
Either? Do you want to ask Dano?
I think Dano's on.
Dano, can you
somewhere.
hear us?
Well, I can reach out to everyone tonight.
Okay. I don't hear him though. Okay, so you'll have to reschedule for the FinCom, I'm sorry, Jeff. But you got that public input, thank you for reminding me about that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're gonna do something else with you, we'll vote, and then it'll be based, I mean, the FinCom can't be completed unless you have both votes.
Yes, so it's the same thing, except it's just more. I just didn't have them all ready at the time where I met with FinCom. So it's taking money on the, depending on the way you're looking at it, on the left-hand side, and now it's going to be transferred to everything on the right-hand side. So from the municipal audit, we had like $3,400 left over. We budgeted $35 and it came in at a little under. So I took $3,100 from there and transferred it to the joint recreation assessment, which came in a little bit higher. The assessing salaries, when we did the budget, I didn't realize that when we did the whole change from each community having an assessing department to a joint assessing department, and we took the salaries that we budgeted for Hamilton and put them on the salary side, and it should have gone on the expense side because we pay them through the expense side, not salary, because he doesn't technically work for us. He doesn't get paid through us. So it's just moving that salary of $41,755 into their assessing contracting line so that I can pay that invoice to Hamilton. There was money left over in tax title, so we took $3,800 from tax title and put it on to permitting miscellaneous services. Again, there was a few expenses that they hadn't budgeted for because of the change in the structure of that department. They didn't have a part-time person. It was a joint. Now they have and a building inspector and a part-time person there, so their expenses are a little bit more. So they're transferring the $3,800 from tax title to permitting's miscellaneous services line. And then from town clerk salaries, because of the change in town clerk, there was money left over in their salary lines. So I took $10,000 from there and did $4,500 for finance contracting services and $5,500 for finance salaries. A lot of that too, salaries came from my previous assistant accountant who was doing stuff in the clerk's office, and I never charged the time back. I just left it under finance because sometimes it'd be 4 hours here or 4 hours there, and it just made sense to pay it from the finance, and then I would make ends at the end of the year. So we took $1,075 from fire dues and subscriptions and split that $500 to COA expenses and $575 to COA salaries and wages. From highway salaries, we took $1,700 and put $10 towards highway expenses and $6,700 to contract services. And that was for contract services, $294. Oh my gosh, I forgot the department number on that one, but $294 is, I'm blanking, but I'll get back to that one. Town hall salaries, I took $2,500 from town hall salaries. Again, that was, Joe was hired a good portion of the year in to FY23, so there was money left over in there. And we took that $2,500 and put it to town hall expenses. We took another $24,500 from town hall salaries and that was the biggest jump we did. We put it to the legal. We took $24,500 from town hall salaries, $5,900 from town admin expenses, and $1,600 from town admin salaries and wages for a total of $32,000 to add to the legal budget. Legal went clearly significantly over this year. It was a big year for contracts. All our contracts were up, so there was negotiations with police, fire, library, and the DPW and clerical union. So we've been very friendly with KP Law this year.
And this was also the year they reduced the budget by $30,000, thinking that we were going to save some money doing the retainer structure, but it didn't pan out that way.
Then we took $2,630 from planning use contract services and moved that to their salary line. They overspent their salary line and underspent their expenses a little bit. We took $450 from Buildings and Grounds and put that towards town report. That came in, I think we used a different vendor this year, and the expense came in a little higher. We took another $1,700 from Building and Grounds, and we're putting that for street lighting. That pays the National Grid bills, and I think we all know what National Grid and electric and gas is doing these days. And then the last one I will omit because I realized that I did it on the front one. But at least we know we're not missing money somewhere. It's all good. So, yeah. Any questions?
I do not. Anyone else? All right, let's vote on it. Let's have a motion.
So can you scroll up again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move that we accept the year-end appropriation transfers that we hadn't seen before, that we now have seen, and accept them as presented.
Second?
Further discussion? The vote, Gary?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Pete?
Yep.
Diane? Yep. All voted unanimous.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So I'm sorry you had to do another meeting with the FinCom.
Right.
It's fine. We're friends. It's all good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
Business we had to be done, so
Yeah. Do you want to
I guess I'll
adjourn
excuse
FinCom?
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't.
I'll adjourn a meeting that
yeah,
didn't start.
Exactly, exactly. I'm so sorry about that.
And I don't know if Dano can hear, I think we'll just have to pick it up either Friday or Monday.
Right.
Yeah. I'll send an email right now to everyone.
Okay.
Trying to talk, but we can't hear him.
I see the mute coming on and off, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
So, correct me,
I'm so sorry. You don't have to do it now, but when you have a second, can you just
Okay.
sign there and there?
okay.
Thank you.
I think we are down to F. Did I miss anything?
Well, you got two more on E, if you want the community, for two more appointments, do we have? CPC and the ZBA?
Okay, yes, okay.
So, any discussion?
Actually, wasn't there another one on the amended?
The amended added Grace Roebuck for the
Grace
Wenham
Roebuck.
Human Rights. So that's not an appointment, it's a thank you.
That's a thank you.
Thank
Oh, that's a thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're up at the CPC appointment.
Okay, you ready? I move to appoint Patricia G. Horan to the Community Preservation Committee for a term beginning July 11th, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2026.
Second?
So that's a new person on the CPC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Patricia Horn? Wonderful.
At large? Is that an at large?
At large?
Mm-hmm.
At large.
Did I see that she was on the Affordable Housing Trust at one point, too, I think?
Was she? I don't know.
I don't know whether she's there as a representative of the Affordable Housing Trust or at large, but anyway, has some experience, I believe.
Yeah, they believe it's at large because we can't appoint representatives.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. No more discussion on that? Gary, you vote?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Pete?
Yep.
Diane, yep. Unanimous, thank you. Patricia?
Okay, I move to appoint Amy Cooper to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term beginning July 11th, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2026.
Second?
So Amy was an alternate, is that correct? To the ZBA?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
she's moving up?
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
moving up,
Amy Cooper. Awesome. Any questions for Amy? Or comments? We'll vote. Gary?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Diane? Yes, thank you, Amy.
And was there something about Grace?
No, down here.
Oh,
We're not
okay.
there yet. Okay, so now we're on F. We have a inclement weather policy that I think came from you, TA Steve.
So
Like
what
your
this?
tabs, that's
Yeah, I
good.
know, right? So basically what this is just to formalize or to have some formal document that kind of lays out our inclement weather policy and, who makes the call. those types of things. So we put that out in front of you to review. I know, last year, not that there was really any confusion. It was just kind of like, well, who's going to make the call? Can the library call themselves? Can they, who's in charge, or who's going to review? So basically, it was the TA kind of made the call and coordinated with our DPW director, Hamilton, and the superintendent of schools. We'd have a text going back and forth, and kind of all make the call together. Generally, is what we tried to do.
Any comments on the policy? Did you guys read through it?
Read it?
Looks
Yeah.
good to me.
Yeah, it is.
Same.
Looked good, appropriately centralized.
Yep.
That's
Very
great.
I move to adopt the inclement weather policy as written, effective July 11th, 2023.
Second?
No more discussion? Let's go around the room. Gary?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Diane? Yes. Thank you very much. Where are we now?
It's discussion and potential vote to appoint Deirdre Parati as Select Board Liaison to the Master Plan Advisory Committee. So I got a different idea, okay? And Steve and I talked a little bit about this today. So Deirdre should stay on as the Vice Chair of the Master Plan Advisory Committee. And then we should make Ben, I will step down as the Select Board rep and make Ben the Select Board rep.
But Deidre, as the vice chair, came from the FinCom.
Right.
So I understand that,
Yeah.
and she's no longer on FinCom,
Right.
but,
So she's.
I mean, we need her on the Master
Yes,
Plan
yeah.
Advisory Committee. And so why don't we just let her remain in that position and as a floater?
Because that's not an option.
Yeah.
That's not an option in the original charge.
No, it doesn't, there's not the vacancy there.
So my thought was that if we switch the select board rep and make that Deirdre, so she can remain on in that committee, and have you then step in as the planning board rep,
Yeah,
rotating.
the only thing I'm trying to do is get Ben, a land use lawyer, to be participating.
So I think the complication, Peter, is if you're there, I'm there. and you're there,
No,
we have
I
an
step down.
SB. But if you go as planning board, it still equates to a select board quorum.
We
That's
already
the-
have like Rex on that committee.
Yeah. You mean there's enough planning board people?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
okay. Yeah, if that's the case, then it should be fine.
It should be fine, but you need to have the at-large members are full. Planning board member, I mean, you can't be the member from the FinCom. So you have to be,
No.
right, so you have to be, according to the charge, I believe, you have to fit in one of these categories.
Right.
Right.
So if
the-
Peter steps down, then there's a vacancy from the select board,
Correct.
and then there's a vacancy from the FinCom that only FinCom will
Correct.
fill.
Correct.
So the only way to have Deidre maintain the position as the
Vice
number
chair.
2, the vice, is for her to take
The
the
select board-
select board
select board
position.
liaison.
Unless we can always go back and just amend the Master
Charge.
Planning Advisory Committee structure. Add
That's
one
what I
more,
would suggest.
add one more seat.
So,
And we should ask Marta what,
And Weeks, that has to come from Planning Board.
I mean, but we've been doing this for a while now, right? June 2022, and we're coming towards the end?
It'll end about March, just before next year's town meeting. The end of March is the current sort of estimate of the end of
Okay,
the
so that's not
process.
really a lot of time to make the change. Would it make it worthwhile? I don't think so.
you don't think so?
I don't.
I mean, there's also, the other option is there will be technical working sessions in September, which is designed to sort of ground truth the strategies that follow from the vision and goals. And so Ben would certainly be considered to have expertise in various areas and could, I would think, certainly participate in the technical working groups if we can't work it out.
I'll go with that. So I'll lay down.
And Ben, how do you feel about all of
I'll stand
Oh,
down.
I mean, I wholeheartedly support Deirdre continuing, so and so she should be the select board rep so that she can continue as vice chair. And if there's some opportunity for me to participate in a technical committee or in some other capacity, then I'm willing to do so, but.
So those are in
that's-
September? All
Right now, it's estimated to be like the last week of September.
Okay,
which is
that makes sense.
just around the
That's a
corner.
that's a great fallback.
And Thursday night
Yes, this coming Thursday night. Yes, I
Yes.
wrote that down.
for the vision and goals.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we're ready for a motion.
We are.
Yeah.
And I move to appoint Deirdre T. Parati as Select Board Liaison to the Master Plan Advisory Committee for a term beginning July 11th, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Perfect. Any further discussion? I think we should vote. Gary?
Yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Diane is yes. We're unanimous again.
So
Beautiful.
so if I'm not mistaken, I was the Select Board rep,
You were.
Yes.
so I'm done.
You are no longer. You could be rotating planning board.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
Got your night back.
Like
I just
it.
want to note also, I don't want to presuppose that I continue as vice chair, because I think that just has to come from the committee. So I think that needs to be, since
Right.
I technically got off and I'm now getting on. So anyway, just
So that'll be
for clarity's
amongst
sake,
the planning board, but you will
Yeah.
continue working there, being involved.
you know, just
Well
to be-
said, but
Are people lined up for?
Just, well, yeah,
the
the
job.
picket lines, yeah.
Said it, we're sure, yeah.
spears and the,
Stiff competition getting back.
all right, so we just keep going right down?
Yep, so we have a request from the Neurofibromatosis Northeast to host the annual Coast to the Cure bike ride on the streets of Wenham. I think they've done it for a few years. Both the fire chief and the police chief have
Yeah.
no problem with them. So if everybody is good with that, we should just take a motion and
Yeah.
allow them to do that.
I move to approve the Neurofibromatosis Northeast Annual Coast to Cure bike ride on the streets of Wenham on September 9th, 2023.
Second.
Discussion? No, of course not. Vote?
Gary, yes.
Deirdre?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Diane, yes. There's like a pause there. Unanimous vote on that. Thank you very much. And so we have some people that are leaving us, or that have done some amazing work for us over many years. Jamie Colon, Finance Director, Town Accountant, has been here about 3 years, 2021, or 2020 maybe. Catherine Tinsley has been here, I think probably since she was born, working in the town. No, since Jeff Shelgren, a lot of years doing lots of minutes. Jim Purdy, at least 6 years on the FinCom, probably more in other capacities. Not sure. though.
Six.
6 on the FinCom, but
I'm not sure
maybe
what
other capacities. Libby Pollard and Sadie O'Donnell from the HWCAM for being so attentive and coming to videotape us each week. And Grace Roebuck, who was the student representative on the Wenham Human Rights Committee. So I think that we all agree that we owe them a debt of gratitude, and that was wonderful. I think maybe we could get a letter written to them of some sort.
Sure.
Some sort of thank you. For the students, perhaps even a general idea of how much time they put in and their volunteers or whatever hours they put in, so they can have that for their college applications or their resumes moving on. I know Grace is already going to college. I don't know these guys yet.
Down in Rhode Island.
Roger Williams.
Yep.
Yeah. So any other ideas on what we could do for these wonderful people? Standing ovation.
Well, there'll be a recognition next year at the town meeting,
Town meeting. Right.
as always.
I think that's pretty good.
Okay, great. Discussion and potential vote on the usage of the electric signboard requests by private and public organizations. Where did this come from?
So Joe, you wanna?
Joe's gonna talk. ATA, Joe?
This was like a last minute. We figured we should get.
Yeah, so just we were getting several requests, especially over the summer, just from both public and private organizations about whether we can display messages from them. We have, just for an example, we have one from Harbor Light that, they want to put up a sign message just regarding the lottery for the Maple Woods there, and a few others too. We just wanted some sort of clarity going forward. What we can approve, or if it's up to the select board type of thing, or if we can give Steve the authority. So we're hoping just for a discussion on this.
Yeah, I
Going
think our
forward.
concern was where is there a line? Because Harbor Light is, we've gotten other requests before, but it was clearly unrelated to the town. So pretty cut and dry, I think. But then when this came up, we started talking. It's like, well, where is that line? They're not really part of the town. However, it impacts the residents. And if it's another group of similar, who do we grant access to? And we don't. Because we know we have a number of, we have some boards, we have some nonprofits in town that, like to advertise. If you walk out here on like the vestibule on your right when you're going down the stairs, there's a bunch of advertising materials. Sometimes they want to use the light board. We've kind of always been like, no, you can put your materials here, but we're not, going down, putting it up on the light board. So, figured at least just start, we thought we'd throw it out there for some discussion and thoughts, and maybe, we can use those and kind of come up with a policy to work on.
I think the issue is, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
And if you're going to do one, you're going to have to open it up to all. So I would say that let's just keep it town business, because it gets in that whole realm of the flags too,
Yep.
that how are you going to turn down someone that might have questionable association with the town or whatever. So it's going to be very difficult to draw the line.
Any other thoughts?
I mean, I agree that if we were to entertain nonprofit or private organizations, that we would need to think long and hard about what the guidelines are. I'm not sure, and in full disclosure, Harbor Light's a client of mine in my private law practice, so I'm not speaking to their particular request, but I do wonder whether if there's an organization that is pursuing something that has some kind of a link to a public body. So, for example, I don't think that the Affordable Housing Trust is necessarily involved in that lottery, but let's say that there was some connection there, and a board came to us or came to you. If it were through a public board, that might be different. But I think it certainly would require like some serious thought about what the rules are going to be if in fact any non-public entity is even eligible. And maybe it's easier to just say that they're not, but.
Yeah, I agree with what Ben just said. I think it's different if it's the Affordable Housing Trust saying we need to try to get people interested in Maple Woods for the benefit of the town, but I think to allow it for a developer, even if it's a nonprofit, we're getting into different territory. I mean, I think it's a comment on how effective the board is, because I think people really do pay attention to what's there.
No, isn't that crazy?
It's amazing.
Because it's so small, I mean, you can't even,
It's quite effective. That's how a lot of people learn about certain various things.
so I'm getting the idea that
But it's a slippery slope.
just town hall or town-specific events, elections, master plan meeting, stuff like that would be acceptable.
Yeah.
And wouldn't need to come to the board, it could go through Steve, town administrator's office, right? We feel comfortable with that?
Requests made by public bodies, though, right, from within the town, the boards and committees.
Like boards and committees, yes.
For their own business, right? Yeah.
Right.
Right, if, like master plan is having something and they post that, or Concom is doing something somewhere and we wanna have an event. What did we do at, the Heritage Tree program? If that was having something, that would be a town sponsored, town board or something. So we should take a vote to,
Well, if you want to, for clarity's sake, we can draft a policy to effect to, to summarize the discussion just now.
One short
Yeah,
paragraph.
and then,
I think that'd be great.
because we're trying to
Rather than
build,
take a
we're
vote.
trying to, everything we do, we're trying to build out that policy book.
Yep.
So that, whenever, if anyone
Okay.
moves on, we have
Right.
this book of
Absolutely.
policies to pass on to.
So we'll bring it back next meeting or so,
Yeah, so we'll
whenever
put
you
this,
guys
yeah, we'll
write
put it on
together.
old business, or, yeah,
Okay.
and we'll,
All right.
mine won't be long, but it'll be, just have a document for everything.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of documenting the policies, no matter how small.
Right.
But also, I think it gives a little bit of time if anyone in the public has a different opinion and wants to comment. It gives
Very
some
true.
space.
Right, right. Yeah, it would be nice to be able to use that for more, I mean, it seems like if it's so effective to be able to use it more, but then we'd be changing it daily and it would be
Well, that's the thing.
out of
is
control.
Eric's like, all right, from 2 to 3, this person gets it, then we gotta change
Yeah,
it.
no, that's a
From
whole
3
new,
to
that's a whole
7
new
gets
job.
this person gets it.
Okay, no, we'll keep it town specific, for sure.
Yeah, even with just town stuff, it's like, all right, on Monday from, 8 a.m. to noon, we'll have it up there, and then it's, so-and-so is gonna have you up for the rest of the day.
Yeah, we will try to avoid that.
2 to 3 a.m.
Yeah. We gotta get a couple of them, we'll have them all up and down the road.
All right, any, no vote on that. Any other new business? I don't think so, because we didn't have it written down. So we're on to old business. Discussion and potential vote to adopt the Code Red policy. Can throw
Yeah.
this to you.
Yeah, so that was, it's basically a placeholder as far as like the adoption piece. In case there'll be no vote needed tonight, but I kind of wanted to back up a little based, the conversation we had last meeting was we were hoping to utilize what's, or was called, is no longer called this, but reverse 911,
Right.
which is things you get like an Amber Alert or something like that. So through the police chief, he kind of went up the ranks at the state to figure out who has access to it, do we have access to it, what types of things can be utilized, because we're trying to define, we have another, just for context, we have another software that's called Code Red, that's basically kind of like, it's a communication device where you can call and leave voicemails, people sign up on the website, call and leave voicemails, we can do text messages, we can all have internal communication, so like if there's inclement weather, we can have, a text chain that it all operates out of this Code Red software. So we're trying to, always looking for ways to better communicate, so we felt that this was underutilized and it had been reserved and earmarked only for critical emergencies where people's, health and life were in imminent danger. And we're hoping to open that up, the use up a little bit so that, and really start pushing it out, pounding the pavement to get folks, we're gonna do like a little kiosk with an older repurposed computer so that people coming in paying their tax bill, going to the clerk and sign up and get texts and things like that. But anyway, so we were going to try to remove the critical emergency from that use in an attempt to kind of differentiate the communications that people are getting. So they're not, if they're getting like a text a week or a text every other week, they're not starting to just ignore them. And then when one of them is like, you need to get out of town or something like that. So anyway, so long story short, reverse 911 is, well, the only people who have access to it is MEMA and the state police in the event of Amber Alert. So we don't have access with that. So now we're back to, coming up with a policy for Code Red. We met with the rep last week, and this, I don't know if you saw this chart here. There's a lot of questions around like who has signed up, how many people do we have, things of that nature. So,
Put that in.
yep. So basically, the national call, if you see the national call list, that is a total of 1,329. Those are generated by Code Red and supplied to us. They're publicly available phone numbers that exist in like the white pages, various search engines on the internet, things like that you can look up publicly and get somebody's phone number. Client supplied was a program called Swerve, right, that operated out of the regional dispatch facility. That list is no longer available to us. They don't provide that list anymore. However, they were essentially mostly all duplicates from what we can tell on the national call list. The list that was provided from the Code Red. The CNE are the folks that have gone on our website and signed up. So there's really no way to differentiate between how many are cell phones and how many are residential phones, other than if they click yes, you can text me, you're going to assume that that is a cell phone number. So within that, we have, when distributing information, you have the option to, record a voice recording and leave a voicemail at every one of those numbers, send a text or email to the extent that they provided their email. So, from there, I guess we could have a little discussion on, the board definitely wants to go back to, to utilize this for all-in-one communication device. We can, the way the communications come out, you can, the way that they've been described to me from other communities, they'll put like an asterisk, emergency caps, like asterisk, and then have the message after it. If it's not just a general communication, like, trash pickup is delayed one day, or, things of that nature.
So I think the discussion is, we have this system, the Code Red, that we, in the past, and I have always agreed with, is just emergency situations. We used it a lot, I think, or maybe we used reverse 911 over COVID, but I don't like all those phone calls or emails for miscellaneous things that we can find in the, there's no newspaper anymore, so I don't know where we find those things. But I'm turning the corner to think that maybe we should use that system if we could get more people involved, for more communications. We can't seem to get the word out as much as we want to, so not using something that we have, I'm sort of thinking maybe we could make it more useful and not annoying. So it's not an everyday thing. It's, when there was the confusion over Juneteenth, is that a trash holiday or not a trash holiday? If we could send that out by email, that might have got some people to know. So that's what the discussion, I think, right now is, whether we want to start to use that program more. Either way, we should get more residents on that program. Whether we're going to use it just for emergencies or not, we should make a pitch to have people sign up to the website. They can do it here or online. But then our decision is how we're going to use that.
So we actually had a discussion, the four of us, about this just briefly. And there were some pretty good ideas in terms of how to get more people to sign up. And I'd be more than happy to work with you guys.
Yeah, I definitely think we can get, if we, kiosks and just
Kiosks,
pushing
social
the
media,
information. Because
lists.
people are in here, and I think it's as simple as, name, number, email.
And if people are signing up, is that sort of the equivalent to them opting into an understanding of that maybe are going to get one communication a week on things
That's
like
exactly
trash
what
pickup?
they're
They
accepting.
kind of know what they're getting into.
Yeah, they know, right, so they're basically accepting, typical data and text rates apply, although most of it's unlimited now, but just so, they're aware of that if they get a text and they're on a plan that charges per text, that typical text rates would apply, and also that they're accepting the fact that, we're gonna be pushing out information and they're requesting to receive this information.
But we don't really know, as far as I know, we haven't decided on how we're going to use the system, right? So, good point.
I'm a little confused because the document that's in the packet, so that's not, I'm confused if we're discussing this.
No,
sounds
really
not-
just generally, so we were in the process of going down the path of, utilizing this reverse 911. So
And we can't use it.
we can't use it. We can't get MEMA or state police are the only two entities that can access that. So that kind of removes that from the table.
So this document is not valid anymore?
Mm.
Okay, that's
No.
what I was trying to.
However,
I couldn't really get
Because
it.
that was news to me.
Yeah,
what you said earlier, that
yeah. So,
we can't use it.
Yeah.
so now we're back to figuring out, does the board want to open up? Because right now, the last action the board took was, it was just basically, extreme
Emergencies only.
emergencies. And I'm not sure it's been used since COVID.
That's
where
the only
Board
time
of-
it's been used.
Yeah, the Board of Health used it a few times to leave voicemails. And that's it. We've had it since 2020. So it's a really good, a lot of communities use it as a general communication tool, as everyone gets texts all the time. Everyone is right there. That's probably the biggest complaint we get in the select board's office is you never tell us what's going on. We have no idea what's going on in town. If we try, we push everything out on social media. We got the light board. We put it on the news on the website. I mean, we're very active in those areas, but we just don't have a following. Nobody's looking at it.
So Kate and I spent some time,
Wait a minute, let's
Oh,
gotta go all
sorry.
the way down. Let Deirdre
Okay.
say. That's all right, we're gonna go all the way down, then we'll come back.
So I'm not necessarily either in favor or opposed, because I'm still trying to sort this out, but I guess what I feel more comfortable with is maybe it's at our workshop is the appropriate place, but to discuss a larger communication policy, because I'm hesitant to sort of pick a piece and say that this is going to be our primary vehicle without sort of thinking it out more robustly. And again, I'm a documenting person, so documenting what our communication strategy is for social media, all the things that we do, and sort of think about it holistically and not try to just
Piecemeal.
pick piecemeal, yeah.
Right, so if I could just respond to that, I don't think we were just, it's just another option that just kind of came up. We did do a recent communication policy. Did we do communication, social media?
Social media.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we've been it
We've been
wasn't,
playing with, but we
yeah,
haven't.
social
done it
media
yet. Okay.
policy, right, but we've been
Communications.
making,
we have.
a focused effort on using social media
Social.
much more than we ever have in the past.
Yeah, so I guess it just,
But it's
just
really
bringing this
not.
idea up. It's not
Yeah,
working.
it's not
It's not-
working.
It's working.
I mean, it is, it is
It's
more
working.
effective than not doing it, but we're certainly not reaching, the types of numbers that could be reached even with the list that exists now.
So I agree. So we don't want to just say we're going to do this way without
Right.
looking at the whole thing, but just to throw it out there to talk about is a good idea.
And sorry, one last thing. We have heard that consistently through the master plan process as well. But
Communication.
Communication, we don't know where to find information, we need more communication, so it's absolutely a priority. I just would like to see us think it through more robustly.
Okay. All right. Gary?
No, I think as we talked about in earlier meetings too, that have to, as we're down to just code red, we have to be able to differentiate between emergency messages either by the title
Right.
or routine, and also that, as we said, we need people to opt in, so we got to make sure the terms are clear
clear.
on expenses and how many you're going to get and what sort of things you're going to get using this. So,
Okay, good points that I didn't think of. Pete, you had something to say? I'm sorry.
so Kate and I actually started on this, but it's now kind of, so we have a draft policy,
Mm-hmm.
a start.
Mm-hmm.
But that was in a world where reverse 911 existed.
Right.
So we're going to have to go back, so we can, when she's back, why don't she and I sit and huddle?
Kate Mallory?
Yeah. She's actually very enthusiastic about her job,
Yeah.
and we had some good ideas, but I can check in with her and find out if she's around, and then just say, hey, I thought we were gonna be able to use reverse 911 for this, but we're not, now we can't. So now we gotta think about this, what we wrote, in 2 different tiers.
Right. One system, 2 different tiers. How are we going to use it
And then,
as a part of the whole communication plan altogether? So
and then how do we get maximum reach of this understanding that this is where people can get information about what's going on in town. Because, I mean, you know, you and I had that issue when we were over at the tea house. Everybody's like, oh, I don't know where to find that. The other thing is, you might want to say this, somewhat related, the town website.
Yeah, we put them all, we use the town website, so we put it on the news and the town website. This is generally how our social media post goes, because social media you're limited to the amount of characters. So we'll put a news posting, we'll do a quick blurb on social media and then link it to the news posting on the website. So
But-
then you can get the full download with the materials and see.
But I think you're also talking about, our website isn't very good.
Oh, no, that's part of, that's another
So if you go and look at the town of Andover, at their website.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
It's like, oh my goodness.
So now, does the
everything's
town of
right there.
Andover have an IT person, like a communications person?
Well,
They may.
Andover does, yeah.
That's their full-time job.
but you actually have worked with different vendors.
Yeah, so we've actually just sat down, Michelle coordinated it in, with, is it Revive or Revise? Revise. And we got a quote to migrate, so we formed a website working group. So we've met and we've done a lot of work to clean up the website that exists. But the more we got into it, the more we realized how layered and how many dead links were in there just through, you know, a decade of just layering stuff on top of each other, so that things are just so buried that it becomes impossible to find or navigate. So, you know, with that said, we've cleaned up, you know, basically like we've tried to, you know, the elections, the town meeting, the budgetary and financial document section, select board. But, so we have two alternatives. If we were to stay with Revive, we could go to their new template, and migrate over the pieces that we want. Or we could stay on their old template and start fresh. This would be a manual process, and it would leave, you know, say for the first 6 months, would have like an old website link, like for people who were used to finding certain information a certain way. We wouldn't update that anymore, but we would kind of bring over what we feel is relevant, because right now there's so much information, it's so deep that it would be impossible to maintain. Nobody even knows what's on there. And some of the stuff, you know, you look at it, you find a page that, you know, it'll be like 2012, 13, 14, 15, and then it hasn't been touched in 8 years. Do you know what I mean? So, and there's just infinite amount of pages like that. So anyways, the cost is, what was it, about between $10,000 and $20,000 to, depending on how much we wanted migrated over, how much was gonna be done manually, things like that.
So when you're ready to talk about that, I guess in a more formal way, let's do it, because it's incredible when you go into these other websites. Everything's there on the front page. You can scroll up, scroll down a little, everything's there.
I'll have to check the numbers out. But they do have people that keep it up. I mean, I think that's,
Yeah, I mean, I think, in my opinion,
There's a lot more going on in Andover too.
less is more. Like, I know you want to get all the information out. It's not that you're hiding secrets. It's just everything you put up there has to be maintained. So it's like, try to really focus in on what's the core material you want to push out there. And then if people have questions, just call. I mean, we can send, you know what I mean? Just send the information. You know, things like, you know, obviously have to be up there, like town meeting and all the related documents, all the minutes, all the boards and committees, all the finance related documents, like all that stuff has to be up there. But it, you know, I feel like at some point you cross the threshold where, you know, maybe too much, you're trying to maintain too much information out there. When,
So I didn't mean to like kind of do like a 45-degree turn here, but so I will talk. So you guys are working that
Yep.
the website, and then I will go back and talk to Kate and adjust the draft communication policy now in a world where reverse 911 doesn't work.
Okay.
and
And then let's-
bring it back to us.
To the retreat that we're gonna talk about in a little bit, let's make that kind of one, goal one, to make a communication outreach type policy,
Yeah,
plan.
outreach is a
Plan,
good
yeah.
one.
The other towns have communication plans that sort of outline the components, the purpose, the reach. I can't think of one that I looked at, but they're, they're out there. So I think if we look at some examples, it'll give us some ideas of what we can do.
If you
I
could
think the
find
whole-
some, if you could shoot them through Steve,
Try to remember which
when
ones I
you,
saw.
yeah,
sure.
I have never seen any of that,
Outreach is gonna be key.
yes, yeah. All right. Anything else on Code Red?
Nope, that's all. Just kind of
Okay.
an update.
The OPEB and general fund investment management policies, we had 2 meetings ago. Bartholomew, our investment people here,
Yep,
Yeah,
and
and-
treasurer collector.
and treasurer collector, and we got information on changing our investment policies a bit. So I think both were in the packet, our original and,
Yep.
and the updated ones. The only thing I saw was on one page, I think I mentioned it to you, Steve, on page 5, they mentioned the town manager instead of town administrator.
Yep.
So I
Yeah, so
think
we'll change that.
It's
that
in a
would-
few places.
it's in a few places, maybe we could just do
Yeah,
the
so we'll
search,
do,
find.
yeah, I'll.
Okay. That's what I noticed, is, who wants to start the discussion on that?
I just have one comment.
Yes.
In section H on the reporting requirements, it talks about the reports being
Wait a
semi-annual.
minute, which one?
Oh, sorry. Page 5, section H, reporting requirements. It talks about semi-annual reporting.
Mm-hmm.
So I wondered if we can be specific so that it's clear when that actually happens. Is
Yeah.
it, like,
Well,
when
the-
is it?
Bartholomew puts out the report at the end of each fiscal quarter, so 31 March, 30 June, and so forth. It usually reaches the treasurer collector later in the following month, so it'd be late April, late July. So quarterly reports, if you're gonna just be looking at the numbers.
But if we're doing semi-annual, then
Right.
you're saying spring and fall.
What does that equate to?
Well, that's what I'm saying, there is no semi-annual report. Right now, Bartholomew, as an investment corporation, provides a quarterly report to the town and the end-of-the-year report.
So should it be quarterly? I thought that was changed.
That's what I thought we were changing to semi-annual.
Yeah, I mean, it was changed to a more standard investment plan. Most
And-
communities that do semi-annual because,
So the semi-annual
Quarterly, that's-
applies to when we're going to review it as a board,
Right.
not what the product coming
Yes.
from
Yeah,
Bartholomew is, yeah.
So my question is, when does that happen?
Well, I should think you want to look at after the end of the year, and then an appropriate place prior to town meeting in the budget development cycle would be the other time you hit it.
So after the end of
maybe
the
January.
fiscal year,
January.
Yeah, so,
July,
July and
January.
January?
There.
July being after the conclusion of the prior fiscal year, and January being before town meeting and also right after the close of the second quarter of the fiscal year, right?
yes.
So can we put that in there somewhere and be more specific with the semi-annual, with the,
Yeah, so I think it's going to actually end up being first select board meeting in August,
yeah, I was just gonna say probably
and the
August.
first one in February.
Yeah.
Because that still gives you time in February,
To
a
prep.
month prior to town meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and that's as soon as you're gonna close out 30 June, they're not gonna get it in here to the third or fourth week of July, so it's gonna be the first meeting in August that we would formally review it.
I would say February, August, and then you have that month.
Mhm.
Can we add that to the policy?
And is it distributed, it says just to town manager, but the previous version was also select board, maybe FinCom. I mean, is it just to you,
Um,
or is that implying you're the starting point?
Well, yeah, no, I think it goes to me, but then, and then it's presented to the select board on those meeting dates.
Yeah, report contains.
Maybe just clarify.
Will be prepared by the treasurer and distributed to the town manager.
The other thing in the,
For
Bartholomew had gone through a lot of the options and so forth, but using the same term, I don't see any prohibition or approval for utilization of options in the investment schemes.
Utilization of options?
Yes.
Was that part of their alternatives?
Well, I don't remember them including that in the alternatives. The alternatives I took to be other investment derivatives and so forth that they're looking at.
So you want.
I think we just need to have it yes or no, whether the investments will include option trading.
I thought we said no, right?
No, the options didn't come up. We said no to the, what, it's in here.
Cryptocurrency and
Yeah, so no crypto,
What page
no.
you on?
Where is that here?
what page are you on, Gary?
Is OPEB or,
Investments?
Yeah, I think it was in the OPEB category.
OPEB is, OPEB is
A little bit broader.
yeah, just remember that,
Yeah.
so the OPEB is under the
Separate pot.
discretion of the treasurer collector.
Right.
So the select board actually oddly has no say over this policy, but it'd be, adopting it more of just, as good record keeping. So, I mean, I'm sure Belinda would be amenable to any request.
So I'm just thinking that as there's a lot of specific things as to prohibitions or categories, that's one broad area that's not addressed.
Okay, so you want to add no option trading? And this is
Well,
the
it's,
OPEB.
yeah, I'm not saying no option trading, I'm just saying it ought to be yes or no.
Okay.
Are we doing it or are we
In
not?
the OPEB?
Well,
In the OPEB
yes,
trust?
yeah.
So
Okay. Didn't get that.
So if the OPEB is primarily under the treasurers, then back to that reporting, the semi-annual basis, February, August, a report containing the following information will be prepared by the treasurer and distributed to the town administrator. So it doesn't really come to us?
You can add, if you want.
Or distributed to the select board via the town administrator?
To the town administrator for presentation to the select board.
Better?
And the
That's fine.
presentation will include each pot, right? The
Listing of the
the town-
individual accounts, the
town
short
funds, the
term.
OPEB, and the trust fund accounts.
Kind of confused on the two. But they were two separate ones, right?
Yes.
And then the general fund
General fund.
and the regular
General
trust
fund.
funds, and then you have your OPEB trust.
When I read through the regular one, I didn't find any. I didn't notice anything in that one.
The only other thing I had in the OPEB was if the not to exceed 5%, and I know that each place it says should not. And I mean, that's really not a control.
Should not, it should just be.
It should either
Cannot.
shall not exceed 5%. You know, it's got to be a hard limit, right? Otherwise,
And that's when it says should.
who's responsible to deciding whether I can bump over to 6 or down to 4?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I see 4 changes, right?
Do we have Bartholomew's slideshow available to us from that meeting?
Sure, I can get it.
Because that might be, if you, two of you haven't seen it, that was a pretty good overview of how they,
Actually, we can even share the recording.
We have the
yeah,
recording.
yeah, the recording would
I
do it,
watched
yeah.
the meeting,
All
but
right.
I'm not sure I grasped it all, but.
Right. So do we want to vote on these with those 4 changes? Do we want to wait until we review the recording?
I wish to let these guys see the recording, and we should make the changes.
Yeah, I think
And then-
there was a lot of changes, so I mean,
Okay.
and like partially, so I think Belinda has to agree to the changes, so
Okay.
I'll work with
Okay.
her, get the changes implemented, and then, you know, you guys can review it, make sure you're comfortable with it all.
Were there anything else on the regular policies that anyone wanted to bring up? The regular funds?
General fund.
General funds, sorry.
The general funds.
Right, so that,
That's a plan.
we'll put it off one more,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
or
it's good.
whatever we need, yeah.
Yeah.
Better to get it right than not, you know?
Yeah, but just like a couple of clerical and so just like the vote, what, I think that's substantive enough that.
A little, yeah, got a little bit more unwieldy.
Because we actually took the vote to authorize the changes as far as the investment
Mhm.
policy itself,
Mhm.
right? So this is just
But we didn't,
updating.
but we didn't vote on the actual documents, because
That's right,
it had too
yeah.
much red line, I couldn't, I have to see it without the red line, I can't,
Right.
I get confused. All right, we are on to minutes. Gary, that's you.
Okay, here we go. All right, I move that we accept the minutes, open session of May 19, 2023, June 6, 2023, June 20th, 2023, and the executive sessions of 06, 2023, and 06, 2023.
Second.
I have just some typos that I found in,
What?
I know, I don't know how you missed them.
Catherine must have changed it on me.
On, just on June 20th, 2023. It's on page 2 in the summary of the town administrator job performance review. The line says, Ms. Bucco summarized the evaluation process for the town administrator in accordance with the open meeting law. She outlined the steps, starting with the select board members completing individual evaluations to be compiled, not complied. So compiled, then it says by the assistant and reviewed in open session. The executive assistant or the assistant town administrator?
Assistant Town
So
Administrator.
we're missing, there's 2 typos right there. Right, compiled, and we're missing a word. And then on page 3, in the discussion from Kirsten Alexander, at her last line, she requested reclassification of 15,000 line item to the town clerk budget for consulting wages, which she noted was final. I found a typo on when, but I can't read what she wrote now. Which she noted was, finalized. Finalized when is W-H-E-N, not D-N.
When there was not a full-time clerk in the office.
Right,
Yeah,
so when was wrong there. And then, this is the first time we ever had typos. And then on page 4, under the discussion of the informal probate of Harriet Davis, Ms. Davis bequeathed to the town of Wenham the sum of $10,000 to be used for a suitable tree to be planted in the town center.
Planted.
I think it meant planted.
Planted.
Yeah, so, those are mine, I circled them, and if everybody's okay with that, we can vote on it with those changes, and I'll leave them for Michelle to make. So, any other things on the minutes? And so I'm assuming that Deirdre and Ben aren't gonna vote on this because they weren't here, so Gary?
Yes.
Pete?
Yep.
And Diane, yep, with these changes, so we move to approve all those minutes with those changes on 6/20/2023.
So, do we want to take the second step and release the executive session minutes?
Oh, sir,
Because
do that motion.
I don't think there's anything that is left, because all the contracts are finalized, right, Steve?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I move that we release the executive session minutes of 06/06/2023 and June 20th, 2023.
Second.
Discussion? Vote, Gary?
Yes.
Pete?
Yep.
Diane, yep. Done. Well done. All right. So we're just about ready to adjourn. We just have to talk about the schedule. So, pull out your calendars.
And are we talking about an off-site?
Retreat?
Yeah. What do you mean by retreat?
So we had one last year too, when we just, it's just an off time. Usually, what did we do, 3 hours last time?
Yeah, I think it was before I got here, but yeah, I think it was like on a Friday morning for a few hours.
It wasn't Friday
You were
morning.
here.
I was here.
You have
Yeah.
been here.
For the goal setting?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
You weren't? Okay.
Maybe it was. Well, I know we've done a few retreats, but I think the one we're doing now
Oh, the annual,
Yeah.
they,
was done before I got
Okay.
here.
maybe, so.
We call it retreats, but it's basically just like a
It's
workshop.
it's another, which is just a meeting.
Another
Still
meeting.
open meeting law, everything applies, et cetera, et cetera. It's
But
just that we
usually
plan-
votes aren't taken, and it's just a working group, and you know.
We need to like all throw in our ideas, what we
Mhm.
wanna do, and then I think the best idea would be to throw everything in to the pot and then actually just pull out a few of those items to see if we can really get them done in the,
Right.
because it's less
That's
than
what
a
I'd
week
like
now.
to come out of it with
So when are we talking?
some concrete.
So when are we
goals
talking?
And objectives on where we're gonna be
Um,
focusing our
well, before we do
resources this
that-
year.
I know you're talking, I'm just,
Sorry.
I'm
No.
sorry. When are we scheduled again to meet? Our regular meeting now is,
The 24th.
the 24th.
No, 25,
No,
sorry, 25.
25th, yep. And then do we have August meetings yet?
Yeah, it was
thought we
what,
did.
the
It was
8th, 8th and 22. That keeps everything 2 weeks
Yep,
apart.
8/8 and 8/22. And 7/25. So, I don't know what
What'd you just say, 8?
so 7/25, 8/8, 8/22.
And so this just came up today. JM Goldson released, they're also our technical advisor for the MBTA zoning.
Oh,
And they just released their memo with the
Oh.
4 options. So we would like to have, probably hold some sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a formal hearing or public comment feedback, but a joint planning board, select board, and have them go through the findings and, kind of what they mean. And also serve as like a public information meeting, kind of highlight it separately.
so off our schedule.
That'd be
Yeah.
on the planning board Thursday night then?
Well, yeah, I mean, it literally just came up like moments before with Margaret, and I said, yeah, we'll I'll bring it up tonight and see, if you guys, we don't have to hammer out a date now, I can coordinate dates, but
Yep.
just so you know it's coming, if you want to try to do maybe a Tuesday that we're
An
not
off-
meeting.
An off night,
an
yeah.
off Tuesday.
Or a Thursday.
Yeah.
That's good to know. That sounds exciting, though. That's good. So what works for you guys? I mean, in the past, we've done Fridays, because I wasn't working Fridays. But I can kind of move around my schedule, I don't know.
Talking about a Friday this summer.
Yeah, unless Fridays are no good.
I'm really good on the 20, wait a sec. Sorry.
So is the 21st.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to do the 21st.
damn it.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It's-
28th?
My brother left a voicemail and screwing up my phone.
Oh, okay.
I can't see. what-
28th could work for me.
Friday, July 28th?
Yeah, does that
And I'm
work?
sorry, are we talking like all day or half a day? Or?
Like 9 to 12, kind of?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
That's what we've done in the past.
Okay, what day are we talking about?
We're looking at maybe Friday, July 28th, but mornings,
Mhm.
I'm better in the mornings personally, but
I can do the morning of July 28th myself.
July 28th sounds great to me.
Deirdre, could that work? Do you want to do 9 to 12? Do we want to do 8 to 11? Are you early people?
What is Ashura?
What? Ashura?
It's on my calendar too.
Oh, it must be a holiday. It's not on mine. Ashura. Google.
No idea what
We should
holiday
Google it.
that is.
July
So-
28th, I don't.
But yeah, so I think everybody's good on the 20th?
Are you around July 20th?
I can do the 28th, yep.
Okay. All right, so if we're
What
gonna
time do
say
you wanna
July
start?
28th, do we wanna go 9 to 12? Do we wanna go 8 to 11?
I like 9 to 12. With the coffee.
It's fine.
9 to 12? Okay. So now we have July 25th is our next meeting. Then we'll have a workshop goal meeting, July 28th. Then we have our 2 meetings in August, 8/8 and 8/22. Somewhere in there, we'll do an MBTA zoning, hopefully get some information on that.
And we said what, 9 to 12?
9 to 12. So, in the orientation booklet, it did say how we do our meeting prep and stuff, so tomorrow, actually, Steve will start organizing what's gonna go on our July 25th meeting. And then what, how does it work?
Yes, well, we'll talk,
Yep,
Diane and I correspond tomorrow and Thursday, and then I always aim for a Thursday, sometimes Friday morning, to send out the agenda to the rest of the board, the proposed agenda, and then usually any requests for additions come through me to the chair, as she sets the agenda, and on Monday, the following Monday, so you have the weekend to review, and then once we set the final agenda, it gets sent back out for, for any questions or anything like that you guys have.
and then it gets posted on Wednesday.
It gets posted on Wednesday or Thursday, and the packet goes out Thursday night.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that
Yes.
you guys knew when we will, formulate the agenda, when anyone has input
Okay.
and stuff like that.
And I'm sorry, Steve, could you say again how the agenda for this retreat on the 28th is going to be developed? Is that something you're
So
looking
last time, didn't each of us send in our top 5 ideas to Steve?
I think that's how we did it. Yeah, so
We
you
think that-
must have been here.
Well, no, because I remember watching I remember when I got here, I watched a video of a meeting a workshop that took place where you guys put together goals.
Well, that may have occurred because of the special election, because Catherine was already on, then you came on. We may have had one that June.
Okay, maybe.
We have had two, maybe 3
Yeah.
Friday working
Yeah.
groups
Yeah,
in the last year. But as far as like a goal setting, right? Because I'm assuming that's what this is to try to
Yeah,
focus
goals.
on
Goals.
So,
where the
or-
resources are going to be put this year.
So that was hard for me originally, but I think if we all think about, you're on the board, everybody knows that we want to do something, everybody has some idea how they could make something better. So
Right.
those are the things that we want to,
We should just come prepared to talk about those things. I suppose there's open meeting law issues if we're trying to prioritize topics and that sort of thing by email prior to the. to the
right, yeah, so we don't email to each other, but we do
Right.
need to have it on an agenda.
Yeah.
So can we
So
just do topics?
Do we want to put that on the select board for the 25th? That each of us send to Steve ideas for the workshop on the 28th, but we can sort through them on the 25th? So by next Monday,
Okay, yeah,
I like that idea.
that sounds like a good idea.
The little ripple in the open meeting law change, so we'll have to distribute everybody's ideas for discussion at the meeting itself.
that's right.
So like, on the 25th, it won't be in the packet, so everyone can send it to me. I'm not gonna share it with anybody. And then the first time the board sees it will be the first time the public sees it as well.
Correct, right. That was new,
And
yeah.
then you can discuss from there. I think that's a great way to do it, because then we can discuss from there, come up with the agenda items, and everything is above board. And
It just doesn't give you a lot of time to think, because you only get to look at them, and then we're gonna take
Right.
from there what we're gonna
Sure.
go. But we can always put more on than we actually get to at the agenda, at the retreat, so.
Set up time in the beginning, like, where we actually absorb what's been, whatever else is written.
Yeah, we could, yes.
and that's what, and Deirdre and I talked about this yesterday too, and that's what Lauren said, a lot of communities are doing like a reading. They start a half hour early Literally, they just call it to order.
Yeah.
And they distribute the material, and everyone reads it and absorbs it for 30 minutes.
We don't
And then the
talk.
regular meeting starts, and the public gets the information at 6 o'clock, the same time the select board gets the information at 6 o'clock. And that way, there's no deliberation, you're reading it in public, no discussion.
So let's say 6 o'clock for the 25th.
Is that what we want to do?
I think so. Yeah, let's try it that way.
Sure.
All right.
28, all right, 25th and 28th is the, all right, got it.
That way we can get it together and you can, still got Wednesday morning you can post for the 28th.
Right, yeah.
What
Yeah,
time?
we'll do it
We open
first
at
thing.
8, right?
We're open at 8,
Yeah.
we'll do
Yeah.
it first thing. Perfect,
Well done.
not a minute to spare.
Not a penny to spare, not a minute to spare here in Wenham. Anything else before we adjourn?
I move that we adjourn at
8:20.
8:20.
Second? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's unanimous. We're out.